let's just go for it. And then Mark will jump on, the first part's public comments anyway. So welcome, everybody. We got our quorum. Yeah, Kathy, it's good to see you up there in Bolton and Stagecoach. I was going to tell you that my friend lived on Stagecoach Road in Bolton, so I'm very familiar with that area.
Yeah.
So, and then, so we have, we'll just go around and just say, if you're a member or a member of the public, I'm Sherry Lynn, I'm the co-chair.
I'm Kate Kreider, I'm the co-chair.
I'm Kirsten Santor, I'm a member.
Kathy
And
Costello,
then-
member.
Right, and then Jack.
Hi, Jack Lazarowski. I'm not a voting member, but I represent the interests of the senior center, senior community center.
Right. And then, of course, Duncan.
Duncan Wardwell, yeah, just assistant to the town manager in Richmond and always interested in recreation.
Yeah. All right. So welcome, and Mark might be joining us at any moment. I know sometimes he's driving or coming in from work or whatever, so but I think we can go ahead. And I do want to open up for public comment on any non-agenda item. I thought of one thing, but I'll just turn it over. I don't know, Jack, if there's anything you want to share about the senior center, a public comment or activities. I'll just start with you if you have anything.
Not
That's
at
worth
this point.
noting.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone have, I have one thing, so I just want to check it. Does anyone have something else that's not on the agenda you want to just throw out there?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about the lovely, the Conservation Commission of Richmond is doing a March 15th panel, and it's on recreation and conservation. And it's at the library, and I just think it's a great topic because it seems to be bubbling up where people are talking about, I mean, Kathy, you and I were talking about the idea of like, things are getting used and, what does that mean for habitat and, maintaining things. And so they have a cool panel, 6 to 8 on March 15th, which is next Wednesday. And I put it on the Huntington Front Porch Forum, and it's been on Richmond.
It's been on Richmond a few times.
Yeah.
They do have a Zoom link now. I don't
Yeah.
know if it'd be worth reposting on
Yeah, so you can,
Zoom link, but
yeah, and
it
you
has been posted on Richmond.
you can also send in questions ahead of time.
I
and
think that is closed.
oh, that's
now.
closed. Okay.
Yeah, but
Oh, well.
you can still ask questions at the meeting. It was
Yeah.
just to give the panelists
Yeah.
a bit of direction
Right.
and some preparation.
Yeah, so I think that Deb was here last week from Bolton. Was that her name,
Last
Deborah?
month, yeah.
Yeah.
I gave her the.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Just
Go
to
ahead,
add, she did send a note to me apologizing for not being able to be here today and
Yep.
asked that I take notes for her. So if
Okay.
there's anything in particular you want to share with Deb, let me know and I will forward.
Yep.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad Kate had sent the information because I think they were doing a study on a similar topic. Is that
I
right?
was going to say that the March 15th sounds like a meeting Debbie will likely
to.
participate in.
Yep.
She was interested in that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to go. So I just wanted to make sure everyone had that. And welcome, Gina. I see Gina over there. Oh, wait, Kathy's got a comment, then we'll go to Gina. Yes, Kathy.
Sorry, did you say that there was a Zoom link for that meeting or is it just in person at the library?
There is a Zoom link. I can pull it off of the Richmond Farm Porch Forum for you. It wasn't in the original posting.
Yeah,
'cause
I
they-
didn't see it originally. That's okay. I have the,
They
I
just
can
recently
get,
updated that information. Because we were still working, I'm on the conservation too, and we were just still working on the logistics with the technology. So they
Yeah.
haven't had us.
okay, yeah, I have access to that. I just wasn't sure if they had the Zoom link. So that's great.
Yeah, because I have to unfortunately Zoom in because my husband will be out of town. I'm
yeah.
bummed to miss it in person, but at least I can listen in.
Yeah. And Gina, I noticed you're on and we're doing
Hi.
public comments now. If you have anything outside the agenda you want to share.
Oh, thank you. No, I don't have anything to share. I'm just here to listen in and be informed and say hi.
You live in Richmond. I live in Huntington, so that's why I asked.
Yes, I do. I live in Richmond.
Okay, that's great. Yep. And you probably didn't know we're a 3-town committee, rec committee.
I did. I did know
exactly.
that. I knew
Yeah.
it from, I've been in on some of the other committee meetings, and so I did hear that, and I've heard a little
Yep.
scuttlebutt around that
Yeah.
fact. And
But we're here to help, okay?
Oh,
We're
yeah,
volunteering.
yeah.
So, we're not trying to take anything away from Richmond. Okay, I'll just say that. All right.
No, we share a playground, so, right? Neighbors, good neighbors.
Right, neighbor. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. All right. So, since if we're done with public comments, I want to move, to our business for tonight. So the first thing is, we have the minutes from February 7th. And so I'm looking for a motion to, approve the minutes. Then we'll have a discussion and then we'll vote on them if there's any changes. So I believe that's the proper etiquette, but I'll just say it out loud to make sure it's right. There was a link to the February 7th meeting minutes. So do I have anyone that wants to make a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, Kate,
I'll second.
second, okay. And so are there any adjustments or discussions or clarifications from the notes that we got from February 7th? Okay. All right, great. So not hearing that there needs to be any clarifications. We will just for the members, all who, God, I'm forgetting how to do this. I'm
All in favor?
all in
Yeah,
favor.
say all in
Yeah,
favor.
I'm like, I really am
It's our
having like
hands
a
are stuck.
dementia moment here. Okay, all in favor? Just say aye, and if you're on the video, raise your hand. Aye. Okay, so are there any no's? I don't think so. There's just 4 of us here, so the motion passes. Okay. Duncan, so there's 2 things that I wanted you to report out on the park form.
Yep.
And about when we can get an inspection done on the playground set.
Yep.
Okay,
I'll start with the inspection first.
Okay.
VLCT, our insurance group, we reached out to them and they basically told us, yeah, typically in the spring, they like to do those inspections.
okay,
Right now, not a great time, obviously. You're not gonna really see all the padding and stuff. We've done it with different companies in the past, but they seem pretty logical. I haven't gotten a confirmed date, but he said, yeah, he'll get us in pretty quick, I think, based
Okay.
on weather, so we
okay.
can do that.
Duncan,
Yeah,
I have a question
yeah.
about that. Do you know, do they have somebody that does it, or how does that work? Like,
yeah, they have their team's got kind of like a team that looks at any potential liabilities that you have,
Yeah.
a control loss team. So they go through our fire department, they go through water sewer, they go through highway. They're looking for anything of like, if something were to go wrong and this were in place, we could be,
right.
liable for stuff. So they'll definitely go through it with a fine tooth comb. I think I haven't seen one in the recent past, but you all might have, and I just know when I worked many years ago too, there's just a lot of stuff on it, that we can't tackle necessarily all of it all at once, but it just gives us some parameters of what we can improve and what we can do to keep it safer.
I just
So,
know there are CPSI certified playground safety inspectors
Yes,
in the
yes.
state, so I'm just asking, like, from that perspective, if they have
Right.
that training, or if it'd be worth having a discussion with somebody else about that too,
Yeah,
just like go above and beyond.
It probably
Okay.
doesn't hurt, but I feel like with our insurance company, and it is the VLCT, the Vermont League Cities and Towns,
Yeah.
who is kind of advising and doing this. I think they're gonna look out for their best interest, but I'll certainly look into that. If we want to get a second opinion, we could ask them on that, or we could wait and see what's there, but
Yeah.
I kind of felt like, oh yeah, you're our insurance company, they're gonna look out for their best interest in giving us the heads up, and that's what their typical reports are from the other departments of like, hey, you gotta watch out for this and watch out for this and stuff like that. So, but yeah, what'd you call it again? It was
It's
the
a
certified.
CPSI certified playground safety
Okay,
inspector,
cool.
and I'm happy to provide.
Yeah, if you have something, that's great.
I don't have a
I'll do the
person,
same
but I
thing.
have ways to get
Right,
names.
right. Yeah. The good part is too, is like, it is, I think they just come in, because it's part of our service with them, so we can do that and then we can get another opinion if we want, so that's great.
I don't know what the difference is, obviously looking at it from a liability perspective versus like a functionality has a lot of overlap, but I don't know if there's differences and they would know.
That,
The
I think
BCLT
that's a
will know.
very interesting point of doing the two too. You'll really see that overlap of what different, organizations look at what is acceptable in a playground. Obviously, we have other issues with the floodplain.
Yeah.
And everything else there that
Yeah.
kind of makes it always one of those difficult things that I always kind of struggled with, of, how much, cushion do you put in there, at a certain time of year you want, but likewise, that's, I think it's good to get those professional opinions is the most important part.
Yeah, I'm wondering if from that we can sort of get an idea of how long they think the playground would like work. I don't know, be safe for it. I'm just thinking of it from a space of like, there's been certain comments of like, do we really need to replace the playground? So like,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to kind of get a feel for like,
Longevity.
where is it? Like,
Right.
if these like inspectors, who's their job, check it out, are saying like, yeah, it definitely needs to be replaced in 5 years, and that gives us more, to go
Like an
on.
independent audit.
Yeah, right. Instead of just our feeling of, yeah, it's pretty run down, it needs to be replaced, which
Right.
is the general feeling, but it's nice to have like some actual.
Yeah.
dates behind it.
So Gina, you wanted to pipe in about something with the inspection?
I just actually have a question for you. Do you know if the public schools have a certified playground inspector? I know in Massachusetts might be different laws there, but I know that the preschools, they have to have what you were just talking about, certified inspection, which was super helpful because before the playground was even installed, like they would give you, there has to be a certain fall zone. You know what the fall zone
Right.
for the swing, for other kids walking by, there are certain zones, things like that, that are so specific, and that really do help with safety and help preventing accidents. And I was just wondering if you're if the public schools here need to do that, or even the early childhood preschool programs.
I check with my kids' school, they go to RES. and I-
Yeah, so they would know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think
I-
that, I think that makes a lot of sense is, again, they might have someone that they know, but whatever contact you have, and I think, again, we can certainly start with the freebie, the liability one, but I think it would be to get really a comprehensive understanding of, because I bet you they're not going to say what the life of the playground is. So I think we need, I don't know if anyone will say that, but we can certainly try to narrow the scope, because in this whole process of looking at, the playground was something that, we surveyed the community. It seemed like it was an area that people wanted to improve, and it's not accessible for everyone. I think it doesn't have stuff for really, really little kids. Is that right? Or
Like a 3 to 5.
right, so it doesn't have
Maybe
the,
like a 5 to
smaller
12 or
structure.
something.
but not the, like the, under 3-year-olds. And so that was part of it, like maybe it could be more accessible.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
But do you think it does or not?
No, I just don't know if anybody.
I mean,
Oh,
playgrounds
okay.
are more accessible for like kids with disabilities.
Well, that's
Which
another thing.
inevitably makes it
Part
available
one is-
to like a 1.5-year-old or something.
Yeah.
Because it's a
Right.
ramp instead of stairs or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that we have gone with this idea for a while that the playground needs replacement, because we were looking at grant funding and now we're looking at ARPA funding. And so the question is like, okay, well, maybe, oh, Mark's on, hit the
Thank
admin.
you.
So maybe actually we just need to gather a little more data from the inspectors and just,
Right.
Yeah.
get a better sense of what makes,
Well, I
what
think it's a
really
good
sense.
question to, let's ask everyone. Like,
Yeah.
hey, what do you think before it becomes its diminishing returns? It's like
Right.
the old car, of like you
Yeah.
keep throwing money into it, or you could just get a new car,
Right,
and then,
and we wanna put
yeah,
it ahead
how
of
much do you want to do it?
replacing
It'd be an interesting question for everyone. That's something we
Yeah.
put on our to-do list of like, hey, let's ask
Yeah.
this question.
Yeah, so that would be great, Kate, if you can find out if there's an inspector,
I can look into ask the school what they use. Yeah.
if you can find, what, yeah, I mean, again, it might be, we might have a couple of choices and
Mhm.
take it from there.
Yeah, I would
Um,
just reach out on the state level because
Yep.
the RPA offers that training and I know the
Okay.
executive director, so I'd just be reaching out to her.
Okay,
But
yeah.
would you like me to do that or do you want me to wait? Because if there's
If
somebody
there's
right
someone
in
in
town,
town, that
Yeah,
would
I
be
can let
great.
you know.
yeah,
Okay.
just let me know.
And then that way you don't waste your time, yeah. So Mark, we're just talking about the inspection of the playground. We got an option of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns is gonna come and do that. They do that for all the municipal stuff in Richmond. And, get a sense of, what needs to be done to make it safer. It's kind of a liability issue. And then luckily, we're gonna check, Gina mentioned that the schools sometimes have safety inspectors for playgrounds. So Kate's gonna check with Richmond Elementary. And if that doesn't work, then Kirsten has some contacts. So we just thought that it would be important to get that inspection done. Just to have a better sense. So thanks for joining us, Mark.
Yes, sorry, I'm late.
That's okay. I just wanted to fill you in. And then Duncan, the other update was the
Park use form.
park
Yeah.
use form.
Just since the last time, I think the only thing that came in is the Friends of the Winooski River on June 4th is doing their Onion River Race and Ramble. They've done that in the past, hasn't been a problem. They're very respectful, obviously, of the river and how to do things properly. So it's pretty much a no-brainer, slam dunk, in my opinion. But once again, just I'll try to do that every month, just kind of point out any new stuff, but likewise, I don't just talking about that process, however we want to do that process. I try to keep people, just touch base with people, make sure they've done it, or ask questions of Josh and you all if I have any concerns about stuff. So
Yeah, thank you. I had one thought
Mhm.
it was from last month, but it was because of the sand. The playground. The woman, Annie, I love her. She's my daughter's in the same class as her daughter. But I wonder if it'd be worth, and I don't mind reaching out to her. Like just to check in what her plan is for this year with that event.
with
'Cause
the,
I'm
which
just
one?
con-
Yeah,
It's like the beginning of the summer carnival,
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
just concerned that if she is going to get more sand dumped for another dinosaur dig, that would be a concern unless she wants to build the sandbox larger.
okay,
Yeah.
so I don't,
Because
so the
the sand
backstory
is
is,
still there, I assume.
Oh.
I'm sure.
okay.
So
So
a
we
pile of
don't want
sand.
sand dumped.
Ideally, no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I
It
did not
should
know,
be in
yes,
the
yeah.
sandbox.
Well, I think that's
unless
probably a
you're-
good thing to probably have us kind of follow up in general with on those type of things. I mean, I think my understanding was, there's little boosts and carnivals, what
Right.
sort of material you're bringing in? Might
Yeah.
be something we want to start putting on those type of things, because people just assume, oh yeah, we can do this, it's fine. but
Right.
it
Is
might not
there,
be.
is that, I should know, is there a other document that like lists out regulations for the use of the park?
Yeah, that's all basically in our ordinance, so that would
But
be
it's in the
good.
ordinance, not like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's, I
I'm
mean.
applying and here's what I need to know, that I can't bring in alcohol unless this, and I can't do this.
Yeah,
unless
we don't
this,
really,
and-
I mean, I think on the back of the park use form, we do repeat some of those basic things, like not bringing in alcohol. I think those are on there, but I think it's worth us all looking at too. But yeah, I think that's one that is interesting that I would have thought of. Yeah, I wasn't going to assume that they were bringing in sand, so that
Right.
would be, it's one of those things. Yeah, we gotta.
Okay, I saw those 2 requests. I'm like, yeah, we should really ask about.
Yeah.
that.
Right, and maybe that is,
It's a
maybe
little
it's.
bit stupid
We need to,
information.
maybe we need to prompt it with a different question on the form too, of like, I think that's maybe just underlined that,
Yeah.
not underlined, but just assume that, oh yeah, you're leaving the park as you found it.
Right.
So
If you bring in materials. you need
if
to
you're
take them
bringing in
back with
materials, you need to take out materials, and maybe that's what needs to be expressly expressed. So I can follow
Yeah.
up with her on that.
I
Okay.
was similarly thinking like somebody had a pop-up tent that needed significant staking down that did require like digging I don't know, I'm just exaggerating, but like
Just leaving
digging
a
a
hole,
sizable
leaving a hole.
hole and for
Right.
something, or a lot of trash because the bins didn't hold it all right on site and they didn't know what to do with it, like maybe addressing those
That's a good
concerns
one,
in
yeah.
some way. Either describe the event or,
Yeah.
what do you think you'll have afterwards or what?
I think that was one of my questions for the June 4th event with the Ramble and Floats. Is that what it's called? I forgot what it's called, something.
No, yeah,
The
Onion
Onion
River,
River.
Yeah, so, because this happened at another event, so do we have enough, does that create a lot of garbage? Like, I don't know which event was,
Mhm.
where you said it was overflowing.
It wasn't isolated. It was the like weekend, really nice weekend.
Oh,
I
okay.
think we have a lot of
Excess.
weekends.
Okay.
We have to do a better
Yeah.
job. at
I
sending
just
right.
didn't know, does this need extra receptacles or something?
Right, no, I
don't
think,
know.
I can also double check on that too, but I think that is one of those things that some of those organizations figured out already. We do have
Okay.
receptacles there, but I think that's something we need to do better as a town of just like following up
Yeah.
on, hey,
This is a
here are the high
actual, like,
density
boat
events.
race, so this
Oh.
is a very different
Okay.
dynamic. My
Okay,
husband and I, big marathon paddlers, like.
yeah,
This is our.
This is a
jam. He's
very-
done it a
okay.
couple years, yeah.
Awesome.
yeah,
So this is like.
Very
a very
different.
different level,
Okay.
but that's a great concern.
okay. And Jane, I see your hand up. Do you have an idea?
No, I was back on the sandbox. Are you, the sandbox, the sand
that's okay.
pile? So are you saying, so that was dumped there by someone for something? Okay, because I
Okay.
would, it is a big hit for the kids, the sand, that sand mound. But I'm sure it is not, I mean, it's just a big mound. And when the kids come, there's always one who will bring some sand equipment, some tools, and and share them with everyone. It's kind of just thinking in the future. I think a sandbox is a big hit for the little ones who aren't quite big enough to
Right.
manipulate the big equipment. But
Yeah.
not a mound, obviously poured there like that, but a sandbox.
Yeah,
Well, there is a sandbox there, but we have thought
Oh,
about.
wait, I
There's
hadn't
a
even
sandbox
seen
right
it.
next to it. The pile is right next to the sandbox.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Thought about like, well, we
Yes.
could just get someone to build another section of sandbox around.
Yeah, right.
that
Yes,
sand.
that's right. Or push the sand over.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, but thank you. Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
I think those just come up too with some of the inspection stuff, that
Yeah.
opens up all the things in these days of like,
Mhm.
okay, if you have a sandbox, you gotta kind of maintain it. In
Yep.
terms of who's looking after it, who's raking it out, our pets getting in there, are there, what weeds are getting in there? There is a health piece, unfortunately, to that, and it makes sense in your backyard to be like, hey, throw some sand in my backyard. It's great. It works
Mhm.
awesome. But when you get to that situation in a floodplain, there's just other issues that come up. I know. And it's funny, it came up today, actually, as we were talking. I was like, oh yeah, that's sandbox. I know that. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
I learned even more today. I didn't know that pile was there or even recognized it, even though I walk around. So I will check it out. But I think all good stuff around both. I think helping me follow up with different groups in terms of how they're using the space and just giving them some gentle reminders about, hey, just make sure of this, make sure of that.
when's
I
the
don't-
dinosaur sand thing happen?
that's
we
good.
remember?
It's early June, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
It's early
The
June,
only
okay.
reason I know that she was the one who did it is because I took my kids to it last year.
Okay.
Right.
But it's not necessarily the same event, like that was a portion of the event, like
That was
special
like one
piece,
of the
right?
activities. that I
Right, so it
get
might
that
not even be
Was
a
a
thing.
dinosaur day. And it
this
she-
year.
Exactly. She might
Yeah.
not be doing that this year
Right.
as part of the
So
event.
that's actually the day before the canoe race.
Oh, okay.
The original reservation for the
Okay.
canoe race came in for the day previous, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, they already booked
Right,
the
they
race. They
booked
said,
it.
oh, we screwed up the date. It's actually Sunday. So
Okay,
the canoe race is all set. And I think, yeah,
Okay.
usually the canoe race, they're kind of just getting out. They're doing a little staging area at the bandstand
Yeah.
green.
okay.
It's not too much of an issue. Yeah, it is kind of, some of the carnivals and stuff that, like the 4th of July parade, it's like, it's great to have that space, but there's a lot of management there that you don't really think about when you have a large group of people coming in and using stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I think that we don't need a formal approval of this. We're just talking out
Yeah,
the
typically just
conditions.
say any
Okay,
concerns about approving those, and likewise, I'll
Yep.
follow up with those two
Okay.
groups about that. That's kind of what the purpose is just to give me something to say, hey, here's other voices, any other things, and I can follow up with them.
okay. All right, so we're kind of moving the agenda around. We have, 4 areas of our work plan, and we haven't actually talked about outreach, specifically the website that we use for kind of communicating and outreach. And then also we talked about doing an actual community engagement day in the spring at Volunteers Green. So let's start with the website, because just as background, the website, I think, for Richmond changed a year ago, or it might have been longer than that.
No, a little less than a year.
Less than a year ago, and they did kind of the main, layout, and then for each committee, they have their own web page. And so I'll turn it over to you to talk about, I sent a couple of links that of how other towns have done it. I think one was the Waitsfield, what was it called? The Waitsfield,
Waterbury.
Waterbury and the Mad River.
in the Mad River District, yeah, Valley, yeah. Yeah, And so I'll just let you start to lead the conversation about where you're at and what we can do to help with the layout. So, and just think about it. I mean, I do want to just say one thing before you start, is I do think that what is important to have on the website, and it might have been there, but I forgot if it was there, is that I do feel that there's a lot of misinformation about the fact that we're a 3-town rec committee.
Mhm.
And so if we can come up with a nice way to explain it, I think that needs to go there, because Kate and I heard at the ARPA committee, again, some comments about, yeah, maybe Huntington can give us money towards that, or,
Yeah.
because I said I was from Huntington.
Yeah.
And, oh, well, Huntington would have to contribute to that, and then Kathy had a bad experience, and again, it's like, well, I wrote down, it was in the Times Inc. One of the select board said, I'm trying to understand the rationale of having people from other towns on our committee. Do they contribute in any way? And I said, which references the financial contribution. Okay, I think that's what he meant. But it was like, oh my God. I mean, I read that and I was like, wow. Okay, so I just
Contribute
feel
what? Yeah.
like, that I don't think I said that to you yet. And I was like, we need to really kind of talk about like the neighborly thing and the, it's about, we're only like 5 or 6 miles apart, and that, we drive through, we have resources that we can share, and, there's recreation here, there's recreation in Bolton, so I just wanted to say that.
It's not like we're working with a large fund for the committee and we're
Right.
splitting it across 3 towns, but
Yeah.
only Richmond is funding it.
Yes.
I'm saying like,
Yeah.
any funding that we were seeking, we were very intentional about.
Right.
Mhm.
Either, is this gonna go across 3 towns that we, decided it, like for Vodak, it wasn't, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to say that, I mean, I think that this all started, again, with the Rise Vermont and trying to, make good, I mean, it's a great idea, because we are a close-knit neighborly community. But I think when you start talking about getting things, that's when it's like, oh, well, why isn't Bolton giving money? Or why isn't, Huntington giving money? And I love the fact that we had the snowshoes, and that was grant
Yeah.
money. And that they're at the Richmond Library, but Bolton people and Huntington people can go and go get those for free. So any way that we can, that's kind of how it works, as far as the sharing. That didn't come out of the Richmond budget. It was grant money.
Right.
We really don't have a budget.
Right.
The rec committee doesn't have a budget.
Okay.
Um,
500.
Yeah, you gotta go, Gina. Is that what you said? Okay. All right. Thanks for coming.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to at least get a little bit, but I need to get to the housing meeting. So I will watch this. It sounds like
Okay.
good stuff is coming up.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, so anyways, that's my comment, and then we'll have time for everyone else to comment. Kathy, I don't know if you want to say anything now or wait, because you're Bolton and I'm Huntington, so we're the ones that get that pressure.
Right. I guess what I will say is, I like the idea of being, welcoming and neighborliness of
Yeah.
the idea of the committee. And it would be good for other entities to embrace that as well. And, maybe having clarity around what are we working on that is also benefiting, the towns other than Richmond, so, just to kind of be thinking about that. And the other piece I will say is I'm very new. I'm just trying to gather information. I'm trying to get what's going on and understand the history a little bit. But yeah, I guess that's.
Yep, no, that's great. Great points. So, all right. So why don't you lead us through this website?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's two places we could, I'll address that first, is that, we have a recreation committee page, and I'm just looking at it to make sure I'm speaking correctly.
Yeah.
But, it does talk about comprised of members from all 3 towns and guided by the 2018 town report.
Yeah.
But maybe we should revisit that, and then, and it does talk about the century rentals too. So
Oh,
that's
and
on
that's
our
good.
recreation
That's
page.
good. Yeah. Yep.
Or sorry, recreation committee page.
Yep.
Um,
Currently. Okay.
currently,
Yeah.
but maybe looking over that and just elaborating it someday.
Yeah, it might be that, it might be just, how the language is, like to say the Richmond 2018 plan. I don't live in Richmond, I don't look at the 2018 plan.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's good to have it referenced there, but I think it's about what's common for all three towns. I guess think of that, like, how do we message it?
And I think that should go on the recreation page. Like,
Yes.
that should be a 1 or 2 sentence thing
Yes.
right underneath recreation on
Yeah.
the page.
Yeah.
In trying to set this up, I just have some questions about how we want it to look.
Yes.
What I started with was this concept of like buttons, so that are themed. I don't know, I'm sure there's better ways to say that, but right now we have community programs, youth sports, and river access. Of course, there are more, but this is where I got a little bit stuck. Those were pretty obvious.
Mhm.
Where we have like a water-based one, it's called river access right now, but it could be something else. Youth sports is an easy one because we're trying to capture, soccer and baseball and
Mhm.
everything that happens here. And then community programs is kind of more of a catch-all that I put in, like the farmer's market, I put in radiate, things that were a little bit less of a niche. They were gonna kind of fall, there's not enough of them to maybe make its own section, but it was enough to, very obviously we want to mention. And so they're really light right now. So just coming up with what other ones we want. That's probably the biggest challenge that I face right now. Because once you have that, that's easy, like to build that content, that's not hard. But I don't even know what we want per se. I'm not sure how the best way is to figure that out. So that would be my question of us tonight, is how do we determine what we want? And like work towards that, because once I have that, I need that template kind of to work off of.
Right. Right. Okay, go ahead, Kathy, and there's an admit, someone's coming in. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, I guess I'm sorry, I can't see the page, so it's hard for me to conceptualize, but I guess I do wonder about,
I can't, can you
Okay.
screen share it?
What do you have up? Do you want to do?
I just have the,
Just the
our
recreation page?
richmond.gov
Oh,
recreation page.
okay,
Yeah.
We're gonna try to bring it up so you can see it, Kathy, but you can
Okay.
continue to talk.
okay,
So-
great, that's helpful. I'm just gonna, shoot from the hip a little bit.
This one?
Under community. Then recreation there. Yeah,
Okay,
there we go.
so here's the layout right now. This is the,
I'm not sharing it.
oh, okay. Sorry. Hang on, Kathy. And
Okay,
then, so you can see, so this is
Hopefully you can see.
yes, I can,
There's 3 buckets. And so that's probably not enough. And generally, what were you gonna say, Kathy? Go ahead.
well, I was wondering about where does the senior center or senior activities for
Yeah.
Exactly.
the towns, where does that sit? That's one thing. And,
Yeah.
I thought in the past that there were senior activities that were shared across the communities.
Yeah.
And, again,
great.
I'm just trying to learn.
Section
Yeah.
info on the page. So actually it has its own page, not that we couldn't
Oh.
also reference back to it. But it does
Oh, it
actually
has its
have,
own page. Okay.
it does have its own page. So what I would do is just put
Link
that
it?
under community programs and link it back to itself.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that
Okay.
it's
Yes.
like
Oh.
in multiple places,
Yeah,
but that's a good point, yes.
but that's a very good point. I didn't realize they were on here as a separate web page. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so that, because I was wondering that, because so the one thing that comes to mind is, okay, youth sports. So do we have adult rec leagues? Like, I'll tell you what I'm thinking is horseshoes in Huntington, the big tournament.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
big, lots of
Big deal.
tournaments. Yeah, but it's one thing. I can't think of any other adult
Yeah, I don't think
sports.
we have any.
So,
Well,
That's
another question. Sorry. A question is also about like pickup sports, like, basketball pickup games that occur at different locations. How would people find if that's happening? Those kind of leagues or non-league
yeah,
recreational?
and I don't know. Yeah.
I would assume
Our front porch farm.
Yeah, it's very much pickup. I think there's word of mouth stuff. There might be something that goes on at Camelsup Middle School, but I'm not aware of it. And, it depends on, I think, the person who opens it up or the school, but there really isn't, like we've learned, there's not a real formal recreation department here, so we don't have a,
Right.
clearinghouse for that either.
What about, they probably have their own page too, but like the trails, is there like a trails
has its
page
own
that has?
page.
Okay.
They have their own
Trail
page.
maps and trailheads.
Okay, that's good. I know that's a big.
But again,
thing.
we can link,
We can
Back
link
to
to
that,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I just didn't want to go, I mean, part of why I kept it this way was because I didn't want to go too deep without getting
Yeah.
input. I didn't want to spend hours and hours and hours and then have it not land.
Yeah, see,
So-
I was so stuck on, I liked having, because I look at that Smuggler's Notch page and I like the winter, spring, fall. and
Yeah.
Summer activities, rec activities, because that's how the Smuggler's Notch has all 4 seasons has something different going on. And I really connect with that. I have a harder time connecting with these 3 for some reason. Because just thinking
It's
about.
Not comprehensive because there's not enough to
Well,
capture everything.
For Huntington, river access, we got the Huntington River, we go swimming and fishing there. I don't know how you put that there. Youth sports, we have maybe a soccer. And community programs, I'm trying to think, what do we have for community programs in Huntington?
Yeah.
So this is where I'm stumbling because I'm like, okay, I can't seem to figure out what to put there. So that's, so to me, it might work for Richmond,
Mhm.
but I can't quite connect all the dots for Huntington if we plan to somehow link this to those activities.
Would it be helpful to split it up by town? Or would that make it too complicated?
I don't know.
Hard to like foster that divide then.
Right,
Yeah.
no, it's gonna be inclusive. I'm just trying to make it think of how we can make it easier for people to find the specific information.
The river access I get, because it's more than the Winooski, it's the Huntington River and it's the Bolton, what's it called? God, it's not the Bolton River. What's it called? Kathy? What's that
Well,
river
that's,
called?
it's Winooski.
That's
it's the Win-
Winooski?
Junior
Oh. Well, the Huntington River is the Huntington River that flows to the Winooski. Okay?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
The Huntington River.
Oh,
They don't-
Joyner Brook, you're thinking about Joyner Brook and,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Comes
Heard
into the
that.
Winooski.
Okay, yeah, okay. So,
And I was more using the lens of, I'm not me specifically, like, I'm not from here. I want to
Yeah.
know what to do in this community as a either outside
Yeah,
person or a new resident or as a current resident. That
Yeah.
this becomes a place for that in any of the 3 towns.
yeah,
Mhm.
well, the
Right.
river access
If I-
covers, sorry,
Right.
I don't know how to raise my hand, my thing, sorry.
ahead.
River access, I mean, we can put down the river access points, there is a river access, there's a couple, there's a place in Bolton for river
Yeah.
access. So
Yeah.
you can put under that, here are the places that you can put in and take out. And then that's information, there's more than one town for the Winooski.
yeah,
Well, and that's where we've also talked about putting in information on tubing, information on boating. There's a little bit of that right now in there. It doesn't span all 3 towns, again, just because I was trying to figure out which direction we were going. before
Right.
Putting a lot of work into
right,
it,
yeah.
but yeah. And
I-
I think a river, you had mentioned another name, like water.
Waterways, I don't know, I did
Water
say
something,
something,
yeah.
water something, yeah.
Yeah.
But river access I can live with, actually. That's the one I'm most connected
Oh.
to out of the 3. The others I'm not as connected with, but,
I don't know how many kids do sports.
yeah.
I mean, we could do I could see doing a winter tab, but what would we put under other than the snowshoes? Like,
I think what would be helpful is if we just we need to do a brain dump.
Yeah,
We need to do
Yeah.
a brain dump of all the activities, and then from that, we'll be able to start to see themes, and we kind of need to workshop it.
yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
So do you want
Uh,
to try to do that now?
No,
Okay,
we do not
Okay.
need to do that now, but
okay.
We could brainstorm and then talk about it next meeting or something, or is that too far? We do.
I mean, I'm happy to
that could be
gather,
the homework for everybody.
Yeah.
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 List, or can we can't do a share. But everybody
Um,
could send it to you.
You can send it to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
send me your list of
Like
what's
that.
going,
Also on
Kathy,
together.
everything in Bolton. Mark, whatever you can think of, Kate.
All right.
You know, just send it all and I'll just collate it. Yeah. And then that might help to see a
We
picture.
organize it as a group.
Right.
maybe.
Then you might get your theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
That's a great idea.
I think this is a great start. And it's just so funny that I didn't realize that the website has a senior center there. It's got the trails thing. And so that is, it's good because then we really can hone in, okay, what's not covered?
Right.
That can just be for this part and think about programming, you know?
And it will grow too,
Yeah.
right? Well, all of a sudden somebody will be like, why isn't basketball on there? And we
Yeah.
can just throw a link on, super easy.
Yeah,
But we have to show people what's possible
Right.
first.
yeah. Okay. All right, that makes sense. Okay, and I did have this other note from you. Oh, Mark's got his hand up. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Hey, yeah, I was just thinking about community programs, and we had this conversation a while ago about profit versus not-for-profit. So that
Yes.
community programs, do we just want to like define nonprofit organizations under that? Or do we want to allow links to other recreation activities in Richmond?
Yeah,
I know that's a big thought that probably doesn't need to be settled today, but I was just thinking out loud about Cochran's and the shooting
ahead,
range,
Pat.
those kinds of things where it would good access point for them, but where do we draw the line and how do we define that? And it just has to be something that isn't arbitrary. It has to be something that it's easy enough for anyone to call the shot and say, yeah, it doesn't qualify, or yes, it clearly qualifies.
Kathy, did you have an idea? based on that?
Well, I was actually looking for an example, but then Mark gave the example of Cochran's, so that was.
Yeah, Yes.
But I do wonder about, kind of going back to the purpose of the page to begin with.
Yeah.
Is that to draw people to Richmond who are not, or Bolton or Huntington who are not within already? And, give them all this information about what's here to do, like a vacation spot? Or is it to share the information with, within the communities? That's a question.
Yeah, I thought it was the latter, the second thing you said, but then the idea of like a new family moving in, it's like, oh, well, that's information, or they're visiting, and oh, we might like to do that. So now I'm torn. It could be both. Yeah. So, I don't, it could be both purposes.
Didn't Josh at some point get back to us on that question? I feel like
Yeah.
he said that typically we
He
would
said,
not put for profit.
yeah, he did say that, but he said I think he kind of left it as generally we don't do it, but I think that the idea was to just link it to the external page, and it's not like an
Okay.
actual description or anything more than here's some other resources. Websites do that all the time where, they have links that take you out.
And I would say Waterbury does a really good job of that.
Yeah.
But I think that their vision, just to speak to your point, Kathy, is trying to be very, very informative for the general public.
Yep.
Not, inevitably that it really is really helpful to your residents too, but they're really aiming for the people that haven't been there. And so, for example, I pulled up their sites, but it's like, need some gear for this is in the water section of their website. Need some gear for your trip, Waterbury Sports, and the words Waterbury Sports is linked, has bathing suits, flip flops, sandals,
Yep.
which I think is maybe a little bit more than we want to do, but that's just how they went about it. But it's very informative. So it is that question of who are we aiming for?
Yeah, well, I do know that, just speaking about Cochran's in Huntington, I know that Sleepy Hollow and the Camel's Hump Ski Association would very much like to be known,
Mm-hmm.
especially the Camel's Hump Ski Association, so Sleepy Hollow probably has their own social media and all that kind of stuff. So it is a conundrum. But I think it's the type of thing where, you know, if we decide that we feel it's important to educate the public about what is available, and then it links externally, we just say, this was our plan. And we can say, this is what we really want to do, and this is why. And, you know, and if there are some parameters, they'll have to provide it to us at that point. But I feel like I don't think anyone's tried it, but for recreation, it seems appropriate.
And also, on the flip side, it seems like if we don't do that.
Yeah.
What is our website for?
Because
Why even
yeah.
have the page in a way?
Yes. Kathy.
I guess this question, the conversation on the 15th about conservation and versus recreation is pretty informative, because I think the other piece of this is be careful what you ask for. If you get swarms of people, then there's other ripple effects of that. Suddenly, you know, there's swarms of people at the potholes in Bolton that need to be policed around parking and safety and trash, and, you know, so all those layers of it, I feel like I just want to be thoughtful about what's put out there. That's, you know, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also think when you can Google any place and find out the main things, like you can find out about Cochrane's, I'm sure, if you Google ski areas in the area, of these places that have web pages. So just trying to find the happy place for both of these.
Right. Yeah, happy place. That's a good one. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah. So Mark, I do think that we, you know, have more work to think about that. And maybe when we get our list together, maybe we'll have more things on there than we know that aren't necessarily for profit or businesses. I don't know. And we can just think about that again, what that would look like. I do wonder, has the web page itself for Richmond gotten better traffic since it's been a year with its new site?
I haven't seen any stats.
Okay, because that's always what's interesting, is if the website is not being, you know, sought after, they're not going to find our little web page on there. So
Well, I think that's kind of to Kathy's point too.
Yeah.
Most people, if you're coming to Richmond,
Yeah.
you're going on Richmond recreation,
right,
it's all there.
yeah,
How much do we want to handle? I think
Right.
it's more that when I heard of like, hey, what are those underground basketball nights? Or we need to do the investigate. We could do the investigation for people.
Yeah.
The more nonprofit. Here's the stuff you might not know unless you were a
Yeah.
local sort of thing, because otherwise
I
it's
think-
it's a thread you start pulling and you're gonna list how many different things for just skiing, you know?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
Well, now my question would be, like, I do think there's a pickleball group, but I don't know, maybe that's the senior center doing that.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Kathy, is it? Yeah. Is it the senior center that does the pickleball? Go ahead, Jack. Yeah,
Yes,
you're on
yeah.
mute. Yeah,
And-
okay.
And pickleball is an interesting point, access point into this conversation. We're talking about how do we wrap our arms around the business of Huntington, Bolton, and Richmond, and this newsletter being a vehicle for that. The senior center sponsors roughly 28 activities a week. And
Oh,
of those 28 activities, there's getting to be a growing number where number of participants is starting to give us some growing pains.
huh,
And pickleball is one of them.
one of them.
And it's a very popular activity. And access to where and when it's happening is easily accessible when you have a newsletter. And one of the things that we're finding is there are a number of activities that we're sponsoring that are now at up to 50% of attendance is from people outside our three towns.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Essex Junction is talking about building an interstate between Richmond and to get all of the folks down here for senior activities.
Yeah.
And in most cases, we're delighted to have anybody and everybody coming, but there are moments when it starts to become growing pain. Pickleball courts can only accommodate so many people. And I would add to this conversation, just to complicate things, that we're also finding a few issues every now and then about ageism. Much younger folks are showing up, and it sometimes gets to the point where, well, why don't you old folks get off the court so we can have some serious pickleball here. Anyway, my point at the moment is just that I think the questions that are floating around about, is it for profit or nonprofit? What are the reasons for our advertising? What are our goals for it? Are all important questions and need to be rolled around a lot. And I think the design of the site is one of those places where you can encourage the tenor of the invitations.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If there are parameters that you want to establish even from the beginning about who can participate and who can't, or any of those issues, websites as good a place as any to try to sort out those limits.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. Yeah, Kathy.
I think as we're talking, I am kind of for myself leaning in the area of, for community members or people new to town, or that really to enhance the life of community members, feels like a place that could land there, not to, because as Jack is pointing out, that community members, if there's too much advertisement or too much information out there, community members then lose out on the very thing that you're trying to, that we're trying to create for them.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that, that's great to know. And again, the senior center, do you think that most people are finding the information about pickleball from the website or from your newsletter? I'm just curious. Do you know, Jack, how they know, like why they're coming from
Essex? I probably should have hesitated about using that example. We have others, like our bone builder class. That's word of mouth and the newsletter. The pickleball is a little unique because there's a website that you can use as a sign up method. And we opted to that as a way for the coordinators in each of the 3 towns, so they had a little bit less phone time, about who's got 3 o'clock this afternoon on the court. So we went to this software, and unfortunately, by participating in that software, everybody down to Madagascar knows that there's an open court in Huntington, and so that problem, we didn't see it coming, but it did kind of bite us. Sorry. But let me jump, since you asked, let me jump off of that and into the bone builders, or we have a foot clinic. We do have things that have realistic limits, and so we are finding ourselves bumping into the question of do we want to say this is for community members only, and say, Williston, I'm sorry, but you're not invited, or have preferential treatment for community members, and then a waiting list for others. Those are the kinds of
Yeah.
limits that a newsletter can begin to shape policy things.
Yeah.
If indeed you want to address them.
Okay, so I think that, I mean, this has been a good discussion and we have some homework to do. I think if people can also send me what your ideas are, is what do we hope to accomplish with this? I'll collate that information together too, just to see where everyone lands on this. And then we'll pick up the conversation at the April meeting. And I do like our mission statement because it talks about we serve the communities of Richmond, Huntington, and Bolton by overseeing and designing a variety of recreational programs accessible to all residents. So right in that mission statement, we're pretty much saying that, yeah, it's the three towns that were, and maybe we just say it a certain way and remind it and, put it in there throughout and start with that, and, maybe if we feel like we can expand, we do, but, I do think it's very clear. I mean, we repeat Richmond, Bolton, and Huntington, even in the goals. Goal 1, improve access to a variety of activities that are recreational to promote well-being through increasing awareness of opportunities in Richmond, Bolton, and Huntington. And I feel that is a goal of the web page. I mean, I look at that and go, oh yeah, that's what I think we're trying to do. But anyway, so I encourage you to read the vision and the goals, and then just, again, think about your own experience, and we'll come back. I'll generate the Huntington list. Kathy, if you can do, maybe Jack can also help with a list of Bolton. And then the Richmond folks, I'm sure you can come up with you just send it to me.
Alright.
And think about, okay, what are we really trying to accomplish? So, yeah, so I think that'll be great. Whenever we have something on the agenda, it always takes more than one meeting. Mark, go ahead. This is all good discussion. Go ahead, Mark. I see your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just thinking, on the recreation section and under the not departments, but associations. We talk about and we provide links to the Richmond Park Use Form, park access policy, those kinds of things.
Yep.
I'm wondering if we should be providing links to, I mean, maybe at the least, the Bolton and Huntington town websites. I mean, if they have them for access to those kinds of rec opportunities there. So we don't have to funnel all recreation for all three towns through here.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, good idea.
That makes a lot of sense because, I mean, they have, again, people are putting stuff on there. It's not very extensive. The waterways, for instance, I don't think there's anything on the Huntington page that talks about waterways or access to river. But I think that is a good point. That's a good starting point to say, link here to, there's a soccer sign up and there's information about what's going on in Huntington on there. I can't remember what they call that location. It's where the soccer and the horseshoes happen. They don't even call it, I don't think there's a name to it. And maybe it's the Huntington Fields. I don't know. I'll have to find out. But yeah, that would be an easy start. Yeah.
Right. Why do extra work?
Yeah.
Some of that stuff's already out
I have to
there.
look at the webpage at Huntington. I haven't looked at it in a while. So maybe Kathy, you can check Bolton too and see what's on there.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want to say this starting point is really great, Kristen. I think you did a great job setting up the basis for this. I really appreciate it. It's well done, and I like the way it's broken out, and I'm looking forward to building. Thank you for your time on this.
Yeah, definitely.
We can't do it alone, so
Right.
I'm glad to have a team to help.
Yeah.
I hope you don't want any support from me on computer issues. I can't even get my Zoom.
Just thinking of activities, you're good at that, or like all the different things we want to include on it.
Okay, well, the next thing for outreach is we had put down an item, a task that we thought it would be great to have a volunteers green cleanup day. And so I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, I'm thinking about, spring cleaning. And
Mhm.
so I just think we need to start to hammer out some, what that would encompass, what the date would be. And what would we try to do that day? And then the whole, how do we engage the community? And of course, the first thing that popped into my head is, it's like, geez, there's the first Saturday of the month is Green Up Day. And I would do my little stuff in Huntington. I always do the main road somewhere. And then it's like, boy, I wonder in the afternoon, we could actually do some stuff in Richmond Volunteer Green.
Hmm.
And, maybe it's raking the mulch, moving the sand, putting more
If we
wood
could get
chips
it
in,
delivered by then.
cleaning up the sticks and stuff. I don't know if they do that for Green Up Day at the Volunteers Green, but I was like, well, I'm sure we could, come up with plenty of things to just tidy it up. I want to pull the stupid games out. I don't care if the basket doesn't work. I'm going to put it next there and put a poster up and say, hey, and let people know there's free games to play. So my idea was do it alongside Green Up Day and call it Volunteers Green Cleanup Day on Green Up Day. So that's.
It could be part of the sign up for Green Up Day, like one of
Yeah.
the locations.
Yeah.
A woman on the Conservation Commission organized that.
Is that
last
right?
year.
Yeah. So,
That she's planning on doing it this year, I think.
yeah, so that was my idea, but again, this is a conversation to think about. Okay, what does that involve? Because it is March. So we kind of have to, start getting, if it happens that first weekend in May, we need to kind of move things along. So what do you guys think about it? I'm actually trying to look up when Green Up Day is. Okay.
I like
it
that
is-
idea. I like the link. I like the connection because people have it in mind. Kids at the school, the high school kids need community service time. Boy Scout troops are out doing stuff, they could hone in on Volunteers Green. Perhaps we could get a group to hone in on that.
Yeah.
It's great, like if you have family with kids, because like I haven't done much for Green Up Day because I don't really want to take young kids out on like busy
On the road.
But I can totally take them to the park, and if they get
That's
bored,
right.
they can just play on the
Play on the
while I
playground,
clean up.
yeah, yeah. It's May 6th this year, so
Okay.
that's a good date, I'm like, it's not the first. But, yeah, so that was, what I thought, and, then the question, I mean, I don't know if that, we could do it later, but then we start getting into Memorial Day and summer, and it's like, we wanted to get out there, tidy things up and kind of say who we are, it's our opportunity to, explain who we are and just, yeah, we're thinking about this playground, we're getting it inspected, and have people just chime in, whatever they want to say. So I don't know if your calendars are booked for May 6th, but I would propose that, we try to do it maybe after lunch, or like at, 10 in the morning, because I can get my Green Up done in Huntington by 9. I'm usually out on the road the day before. So do people have that 6 available?
I
I'm
could be
thinking,
available.
okay, I'm thinking maybe a couple of hours. I mean, I don't think we need to kill ourselves.
Yeah.
Um,
fine with me.
yeah, Jack, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest that one potential Green Up Day group is parents with toddlers. And none of them are comfortable being on the highways cleaning up. And this could be billed as an opportunity for families with young ones to participate in Green Up Day, but off the road.
Yeah, no, I
I
think,
think that's great.
that's a great idea.
Not the easiest gaggle of cats to organize to pick up sticks, but
Yeah,
But young
that's
kids
another
love
issue.
to they can make a difference too. I mean, I brought my kids just to like pick up a little bit of trash on our road, which isn't very busy, and they've really enjoyed it.
And Burlington's got.
I
a
wonder
nice-
about the local childcare centers. I think
Yeah.
they're, that might be something that we suggest. They maybe could put some time in on a Friday when they're
Yeah.
there with all their kids,
yeah, yeah.
Again, this is about teaching.
Yep.
Right, teaching kids. So
Yep.
that would be also an option to
Yeah, that's a
take
good
a stab
connection.
at some of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you saying reaching out to childcare providers to like walk the kids?
No, that they might be able to help out on Fridays because they go to the playground and just do
okay.
their part
I
so we
see.
could
Okay.
connect to them too. Yeah, I don't know how many childcares there are in Richmond, but I'm sure I can
I
I
find
don't
it.
know. I don't know now, but I see them over there sometimes.
Yeah, there's some home ones, but there's
Yeah.
one like.
Yeah. So that's great. So it sounds like we definitely have a connection. There's a person in the Conservation Commission that kind of organizes it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we could let them know that we want to focus on Volunteers Green and the rec committee will oversee that and promote it, but we want to be included with all the promotions they're doing. And then we can connect with the TOTS group, TOTS for Parents. What was it called, Jack? I need the name. You'll have to email me. Who's the?
It's not an actual group. He was just saying
Oh.
parents with toddlers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just posted out.
I
on,
can
like,
just
farm-
post it, okay, that it's saved, hey, come to, you know, the cleanup at Volunteers Green for Green Up Day.
Conservation committee do signups too.
Yes, there is. There was, I think last year they did a combination of, there is an app that you can use to sign up. Or they did, I believe, have like a paper map as well here at the town center.
Just thinking because it's very possible it could be overrun and that can become a very negative experience for people if they don't feel like they can be helpful.
We could do
That's
like
the
a
flip side of
separate
it.
sign up
You get-
just for
you get 10
volunteers.
people one day at the
free that
park
we
and we're pretty
handle.
well cleaned up and then.
Yeah, yeah.
I was thinking that we would let
Mhm.
her know that we're gonna participate, but we would like
Yeah.
to have a sign up for the Green Up at Volunteers Green.
Have our own sign up.
Yeah,
Let
I
me
can-
know who's coming.
I can make that easily. They can just email me for all I care. Just put my email in
Yeah.
and let me know that you're coming, how many people, and generally, you know,
Great.
yeah. Yeah, so I think that I don't know if you can talk to her and just say, this is what we're thinking. Do you guys want to do, oh, Mark, I see your hand up. I was just thinking about a time. Do you think it should be like a 10 to noon type of thing, or? It seems like we might get a lot of people 10 to noon.
Morning's probably better.
Yeah.
For people with young kids.
Yeah.
Nap time. you know.
Yeah, so we can promote it 10 to noon. Mark?
Yes, I don't really want to interrupt. I don't know when to bring this up again, but I just kind of want to circle back so you're thinking, the April meeting, our April meeting will come with more concrete ideas about what exactly we're going to be doing at the Volunteers Green?
No,
Are we
I
gonna-
think we can,
Good
yeah,
stuff.
I think we could do that. We can generate a few ideas now. I mean, I think we know that generally the playground area needs to be tidied up. We know that,
More
right?
chips.
And
Talk to
possibly
town.
more
That's
mulch
like
chips,
rakes and things like that, shovels.
shovels and rakes, picking up branches, the basic stuff.
Okay.
And,
What
what was
do we
it?
do with all
Shoveling
these,
at the volunteers green, like clear any debris off the.
Debris off the
trail.
trails. What did you
Branches.
just?
Shoveling sand.
And I think we're gonna shovel sand.
Shovel
Yeah,
sand,
we're gonna
that's-
move that sand into the sandbox. Yeah,
Could
Not
use
gonna
some more
fit.
sand.
We're gonna need. I mean,
okay.
like, some of it will, but it's not all. gonna
It's
fit.
not
Okay.
all- I know.
So we do want to move the sand that's like, you know, people are falling over, you know, because that just looks, so I think it's, you know, again, it's small
Wheelbarrows?
enough. Wheelbarrows might help, yes, yes, yep, and we would ask, you- yep, go ahead, Mark, yeah.
Sorry, but I sometimes it's remote stuff. That's why I like
Yeah.
to use the raise hand option.
Yeah.
But so cleaning up the brush and bramble from the trails and
Yeah.
the edges
Yep.
of the field. Who's gonna take care of that? Are we gonna have the town come in and pick up all the scraps, or do we want to throw them in the back of my truck and burn it, or?
We can ask, yeah,
So one
yeah,
of our contractors, that's what the RFP is out right now, and next Thursday, we're kind of open that up and we're gonna decide on a contractor, and they do basically all the maintenance now in the Volunteers Green. Now, what you're talking about in terms of trimming trees, planting flowers, that's not part of it, but the typical contract is, you know, mowing the fields. If there's branches down where you can't mow, you gotta pick up the branches.
Are we
Yeah,
planting?
I think what Mark is suggesting though is we're gonna pick up stuff on May 6th, so there's gonna be a bunch of sticks and brush
Right.
that we need someone to come and pick up and haul away.
Yeah,
That's-
so we would have to ask that question.
Okay,
I was thinking
Yeah.
that's what the group would do, is then
Yeah.
you would kind of do that. But yes, I think that's
Yeah.
part of you've got the brush areas, but by I would think by that point, they would already be mowing at least
Oh.
once or twice, so a lot of the trails I just don't know what it looks like. And
Okay.
once again, as we deal with our mowers,
Yeah,
we don't know when we begin mowing. It
Yeah.
depends on the weather. It depends on, the spring storms. So, but that is something that we could look at for that.
Yeah, I just think that should be just a standard thing. There might be some stuff for them to pick up, but
Yeah.
maybe there won't be. They'll be
We
nice
throw
and
it
neat.
Back in the woods
Yeah.
when.
Oh, yeah, at least on the trail, you could just
Yeah.
like, don't bring it out,
Yeah.
just throw
Yeah.
it somewhere
Right.
else.
Yeah,
But
so
certainly the sand, like, we're gonna need somewhere.
we're gonna need someone to
More
pick up
like
the sand.
Playground area, the concession stand area,
Yeah.
I think kind of the little ball field areas, that would be some places that could use a little
Well,
TLC. and
Don't
stuff,
they,
but-
I mean, I thought there were areas where we needed to rake mulch or rake garden areas. Am I crazy?
We should go look at
Yeah.
some point, because
We'll
there
go
was a,
Well, that is.
there was a conversation. I
Yeah.
had a recommendation when I was the chair about, there's a garden that's
I
been
thought
left
so.
into disrepair or something.
Yeah,
We should look at that if it's
We'll
even
look.
feasible, because it might be too involved for that.
okay, we'll look.
And it requires full-time maintenance too. It's like,
And then
you
it
go and
requires
get the
maintenance
garden looking
after.
great, and then it looks good
Right.
this week, and 2
Yeah.
weeks later, it looks.
But similar, like painting in the bathrooms. and stuff,
Yeah,
I don't
so-
know where those are at, or if that's even possible.
Painting might be something. I said we're gonna bring out the game, so we have to get them out of the concession stand and pull them over and put them next to the bandstand or whatever. Put up a poster, I don't know. But I think we can finish the list, I think, next month, but we have enough to I think, promote it and say generally these are
Yeah.
the types of things we're doing. Kathy, you had an idea or a
Well,
comment?
no, I had a question about, is there actually mulch that gets dropped off there to be raked in, or?
We
Is
can
there
ask,
actually?
we
No,
can
that- we would have
ask.
to order that. That's something.
Yeah, it
we
would
have
have to be
order.
ordered by the town, so
Yeah.
we would have to request it beforehand, and they do have a budget for volunteers green that it could be, that could be used for it.
So how much
Yeah.
time do they need, Duncan, if we decide in April? Because I think what we're gonna have to do is we're probably gonna have to go over there and take a look to just see.
Right.
know,
Based on the inspection,
Once
we
the
need.
snow
to-
melt.
Yeah,
What do we need for mulch? What do we want for mulch? We did it. I mean, I do remember we've done this type of
Yeah.
event many, many years ago where
Okay.
we're just raking the stuff in. It works. You don't need a ton of people to do it. I think that's that kind balance is you want
Mhm.
volunteers, but all of a sudden, when we do the high school cleanup day around here, you get 40 high school kids, that's not easy to keep them all busy,
Yeah.
boom, things are done. And it's like, you gotta be really organized about all the different things that you want to have done. So it doesn't have people walking away going, oh, that was a waste of my time. I showed up and I didn't have anything to do. So
And
yeah,
next
we
year,
can go
nobody.
look into that with the inspection. We can look into it, what we've ordered in the past, but I would assume we
Yeah.
would need some more
mulch.
mulch.
Yeah,
And
it
we
looks
would need
like
to
it's
rake
all
that
mulch.
out. And so that would be something that we
Yeah.
could do,
So-
but that could be something that I'll
So,
follow up with
yeah.
highway on.
I just feel like, yes, we would like to make a request for more mulch. I don't think we even have a question. We just need
Yeah,
Pete or
that's-
someone to look and
Oh.
say, how much mulch do we need?
You'd probably be able to tell if he just looks at it. If he's
We
done
just
it
more need to
enough.
know what's the timeline for us to get mulch, because these
Yeah.
days you can't just order something
Yeah.
and 2 days later it shows up. There's a lot of
Every
delays
day.
these days.
Yeah.
But maybe it is one of those things that shows up quick and we could just get it at, Richmond Hardware, but I don't know for sure. So I'll follow up on.
And can you
what's the
also,
Process.
I think also for Pete, ask him, if we clean up the sand that's over there and move some of it into the box, is there a way for him to have some kind of vehicle that can pick up the rest of it? So it
Yeah, something
actually
like that.
gets moved, on Saturday. Cause I think those
Yeah.
are, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It needs more mulch. It needs to get the sand out of there. And then any other extras, we'll take a walk around. So I guess I would ask people before the April meeting, if we can, take a look. And then finalize our list of things to do, things to do. And I guess if we were to promote this, I think it's okay, because we meet April, what's our April meeting? It's early. It's always the second Tuesday. So we meet on April the 4th.
Yep.
So that gives us, we can then promote it big time, because we'll have our list of things we need to do, sign up. And, maybe we can come up with, having cider or donuts or something. I always like to have something
Yeah.
for them to eat, so we can figure that out.
Like
Yeah.
$500 for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and, maybe we end up painting something, I don't know. But I think that there'll be, if we can get like, a half dozen people or a couple of families, that would be great. But I don't think people are gonna be knocking down the door that we're gonna have 50 people.
No, I don't think so.
But it would be good to get some parents with young kids
Yeah.
to show up. Yeah, yeah. So, and some seniors and stuff like that. So, yeah. So we can finalize it. Mark, your original question is, we kind of have an idea. We can finalize it when we meet in April, and we have to start
Yeah.
promoting it after that. And I can start writing like a promotional thing, and I can send it. You guys can look at it and just say, oh, why don't you add this or that? So I can start that process, so we have something ready to go. And it can go on the Front Porch Forum in Bolton, in Richmond, and in Huntington. So we can all sign up for that. And then the question would be is, what kind of promotion does the Conservation Commission do?
Mhm.
And if they can also,
Yeah.
use whatever venues. So I think it'll be easy to promote and stuff and
think so.
control. And I just think it'll be fun to be out there and, kind of, tidy things up. Yeah, so I think that's basically it. If you have an idea about something that you really think the green could, we could do, and, if we have just a small group of, there's 5 of us, and, it maybe we'll have like 10 more people. I don't think it'll be more than a dozen to 15. And if there's something, I do think painting is hard,
Mm.
so
Long
that
time.
takes a little bit of
It's messy.
time. Yeah, and it's messy,
Nothing
yeah.
gonna look
You
as
just
skinny
don't, yeah,
about
you don't just
Yeah.
train your, hey, come on over there.
Yeah.
Separate volunteer event if we want to.
Yeah, yeah, but we might want to like wipe down the tables, because the birds have done their business.
Clean them off.
Clean them off,
Yeah.
there's all sorts. I can come up with a gazillion cleanup things to do. But yeah, maybe we won't have as many twigs and branches. I know there's a ton at my house, but you're right. If they're gonna be mowing, that might be cleaned up, but I think it's good to walk around the trails, because
Yeah.
again, they're not gonna be in the trails, so we can clean up that too. All right, so great. The last part of our discussion was about the volunteer green improvements in the budget. So I think I'm gonna kind of skip over, this came up at the select board meeting. So the rec committee really doesn't have a budget that they have any say over, but we can make a request for maintenance. There's a $3,000 maintenance line and a $3,000 equipment line. And so that's why Duncan's gonna check about the mulch and, what to do with the sand, because that's that we can ask for it, and then they have to figure out if it can be done, for what we're trying to do it for. But I think it's good to know that there's that 3,000 maintenance and 3,000 equipment line, because like when the inspection comes in, there might be something that the town inspector, the Vermont Leagues and Cities and Town Inspector find, or the school inspector and finds, and maybe there's something that we can say, hey, we got some research. They said this clip needs to be replaced. It's $500. Is that something that you can order and take out of the equipment line? So we have an opportunity to, for small things, to make requests. And I can see like if there's some kind of minor repair on the playground that we might be able to access that. Go ahead, Mark. You have your hand up.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, that if we can't get all that sand in the sandbox, if we've got the shovels, and I've got a pickup, I could get rid of that sand around my house easy enough.
Oh,
I
okay.
got a-
Nice.
That's nice, Mark.
Thanks,
Thank you. Okay, so we'll figure if you
I'd
can.
appreciate it.
Okay. Oh, well, that's even, do you want to do that instead of seeing if we can get a truck there to haul it away?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
I can-
Okay, well, then you don't have to ask
Yeah.
about
Sold,
the.
yeah.
Thank you, Mark. That'd be great if you can use that sand. Okay. So, there's no reason why Mark can't take it, right?
Yeah, I may. My only piece would be, we would have, the Girl Scout group, well, where'd our sand go? And we were like, well, it's,
Sandbox.
Fill the sandbox.
yeah, I mean, I think,
Okay.
it's one of those ones that I think what I should do is follow up with her of just saying, hey, make sure we don't get more sand, so that takes it away, and then, boom, there it is again. But it is, I think it's a good learning piece, but I don't think there's anything wrong,
Okay,
and
Okay.
yeah,
what, I don't know what the highway would do with that. You can't just use that sand
Right.
for regular, road
Okay.
sand, so.
Yeah.
It's playground sand, so if someone wants to do it.
hey, that's great, okay.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, and, okay, so that's the town budget line, and we kind of, again, we had a lot of conversation about, the last meeting, we had this presentation about all these additional things that could be done. And so I just wanted to talk about, okay, there's this general maintenance and equipment line. And then as far as the ARPA committee, goes, we had made an original recommendation, and I'm gonna read it to you, that we felt that the $249,000 to help with tables, benches, the playground signage, the large green sign replacement that looks really old, trash and recycling, the mats, groundwork installation, the band shell repairs, and the landscaping, along with whatever needs to be done in the restroom, and the Gaga ball pit, were the areas that we had already prioritized as a committee. And so, that's what ARPA committee asked us to, say, okay, what are our priorities? These are our priorities. And so we submitted that.
Well, and they were strengthened by the ARPA committee recommendation.
Yes,
So
Absolutely.
I just want to add
They
that.
were.
yes.
Yeah.
No, no,
Record.
they're on the record. That's very correct. They did their own survey and all this stuff came up. Yes, this stuff came up. And of course, we did a survey 2 years ago and these things came up. So that's how we got these priorities. And so I think I'm trying to think. So when I emailed Josh, he said there's really not an opportunity to add anything else, I think is how he said it. That,
It was Jay, wasn't it?
was it
I
Jay
think it was- I think
or was it
Jay.
Josh? I can't remember who I
Jay is on the committee, but I
Yeah.
don't think Josh.
maybe it was, so they were,
Oh, Josh is on the upper one?
Yeah.
It was Josh.
it was
I
one of,
don't remember now.
it was one or the other, either Josh or Jay. Remember you guys had asked, can we find out if we can put in a second request? Because everyone got excited about some of the stuff that they were presenting, and so it's like, okay. And I looked at the survey. Yeah, people talked about a pavilion, people talked about basketball, and I forgot what the other one was. Pickleball, maybe.
Well, basketball / skating rink. is going to
Skating
be
rink,
the
that's what
same
it was.
structure,
Yes, that's what
yeah.
it was. And so when I emailed Jay and Josh, I think I emailed them both, they pretty much said that they're gonna come up with a decision and no, they weren't accepting any second rounds. I said, okay, that's fine. And I emailed all of you and said that.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like there was other information that came out. But again, I think it's just because it's a committee. They're trying to go to the end line to come up with this recommendation to the select board. And so then it seemed like, oh, there might be an opening. But I think at this point, we're too late. I still feel like we put our thought into that. And I just feel like, it's too much to try to get a community public engagement to say, hey, what do you guys think about the pavilion? What do you guys think about like an ice skating rink, basketball court, or whatever it was? Because we did base it on what we knew at the time. People were saying, it was a survey of 500 people and this was their priority. So I felt that like the fact that Jay and or Josh said, no, we're trying to finalize our list. And I didn't feel there was enough time. And I felt like we couldn't do the community engagement to say, hey, this came up, what do you all think about that? I know the pavilion was very popular with the group that was having the conversation for the events and stuff to get out of the, bad weather and stuff. It would be nice. But the whole I think Kate and I got a lot of emails and a lot of comments. And, you know, like, I understand it. They're concerned about the floodplain. There does seem to be a lot of different varying opinions. I got recent information that maybe you can't even replace the playground, an existing structure. Kate and I are probably gonna follow up with the zoning person, not the zoning.
Tyler.
Is he
Yeah,
the
we're
zoning
looking
or
to meet
flood?
with
Yeah,
him to learn more about the flood.
the floodplain
Why can and
regulations.
cannot put that, because I mean, why waste our time looking into other structures if it's not gonna be able to happen?
If it's not gonna
anyways?
be allowed, yeah. So,
Does not increase. the
I thought
footprint.
that's what he was
typically the
saying.
ruling.
Yeah, that's.
We
kind of
thought
what
it
he told
was,
yeah.
us.
but we're getting like a
Getting clarity.
lot of different
Yeah.
opinions.
Right, but someone else could also say, back to, I think, Mark's point last meeting,
Yeah.
it's the displacement of water. If you have a bigger structure that's taking
Right.
up more space, now you're
Right.
displacing that water downstream somewhere.
Yeah.
And I know Fran's always reminded me too of, just like, even to get the bathroom, she had to meet with the Army Corps of Engineers, you
Yeah.
know, because it's in this floodplain, you unravel this whole other level of
Yeah.
management and engineering that
Yeah.
you just got to be careful of. You know, you can go down the path and be optimistic, but who knows where where
Yeah.
the path rolls. But anything I always thought of was kind of got the same pushback of like, "Ooh, be careful."
Yeah, it just kind of made us step back and go, wow, I thought this was gonna be like, this was something very simplistic, but there's a lot of things that we have to check into. So as we had planned, we have to have a lot more public engagement. Once we know whether or not they're gonna fund the playground and the stuff.
Have something to have public
Right.
engagement about.
Right. And then we have to find out, I think that we do feel like, let's go and check whether or not we can replace the
Right.
playground. Because it's like, wow, what do you mean we can't replace the playground? So I thought that was an easy thing, but I think that he offered to meet with us. So Kate and I said, we'll talk to you about the floodplain. Maybe we'll ask about the other stuff, but, you know.
Well, just so we know.
Yeah, but I think we're gonna focus on our original request. And so I got to a point where it's like, I think that the ARPA committee is getting a certain amount of pressure and they're trying to send something to the select board. And
Mhm.
so I think that I'm not clear, but I think that they're gonna ask for quite a few things that we haven't recommended. I mean, Kate, so maybe
I
hang
was
on a
just gonna
second.
Put in my
Mark.
2 cents.
Go
quickly,
ahead,
since
yeah.
I responded to a bunch of that. stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I learned from that is, I mean, first of all, it's understandable the public is concerned if like all of a sudden there's like this map and there's like 20 things added to volunteer
Yeah.
screen. I would be too. And so what I've learned is that I think we really shouldn't seek funding for additional structures without really doing like public engagement for people to envision what they want at volunteer screen.
Yeah.
And figuring out what we could actually put there with the regulations first. But I think it's too much at once. Like we could, if we do the envisioning and people say like, yeah, we want a pavilion, well, then we could look into a capital plan to pay for that in a certain amount of years or something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure how we want to communicate with the ARPA committee member who's looking into the additional things. I mean, I guess
Well,
technically she could still.
Yeah, so
ask for that funding if she wants to, but it wouldn't come from our committee.
right, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing. So I'm gonna get to you, Mark, is I think that, Kara, who's on the ARPA committee, had the UVM student, I forgot her name, do a great little design we looked at, and I think that, they're very committed to seeing if they can find information about how much it would cost. And I think that they want to sit down with the other committee members, Kara and the other committee members, and decide what do we want to say about recreational kind of stuff in Volunteers Green. They have our proposal, but then, Kara's done her own research with, I think it's Beth. That might be the wrong name.
Grace.
Grace,
Grace,
that's
yeah,
it.
who is making the map.
Yeah, and so they have it makes sense. They're their own committee. They did get community members to weigh in and ask about stuff. So they may very well come up with their own proposal for what they would like to see. I just want to be clear that we're trying to just, again, it's a communication thing, state that our focus has been on the playground and these existing structures to improve and replace the playground. And that's been for 2 years now. And that, you know, if the ARPA committee decides to go in another direction or include this plus other stuff, that's up to the ARPA committee. And of course, there would have to be, the select board knows there has to be community engagement before they actually, you know, end up putting something on there that the community hasn't really gotten a chance to look at. So I think that there's a little confusion in the community, and there's kind of these, you know, there's what the rec committee recommended and then what the ARPA committee will eventually decide to do. So Mark, I'm going to go to you because I know you've been very patient with your hand up. So,
That's fine. I definitely appreciated you taking the moment to finish that line of thought before coming back. But I just wanted to add something about the floodplain. I was on the planning commission when we first put in the pretty extensive floodplain zoning regulations. And I still am. And I think the gist of it, certainly as Duncan getting at, is that obstruction of flow. And a pavilion isn't going to obstruct flow. A basketball court isn't going to obstruct flow. Fences, even for the dog park, that allows water flow to move through them, wouldn't be an issue. But you know, if maybe it is a little too late in the game to come in with those big ticket items for the ARPA funds.
yeah.
But I wonder if it still should be on our radar down the road, because I do think that zoning wise, I don't think those types of structures would be an issue in that. And Richmond's floodplain regulations, I will say, are much stricter than just about anybody else's. We are above and beyond what FEMA has dictated is required for floodplain development. So we went very hard on restricting that, and I think there's some leeway there for these types of items. And if you guys are going to go in and talk to somebody in the short term about that, I'd be happy to accompany you.
Oh, that would be
Oh,
great,
thank you,
Mark,
Mark.
because we don't know anything. So that's
I know
why.
very little about floodplain regs.
Yeah.
A little bit from the Conservation Commission there.
That would be great, because I was thinking that, you know, I have no experience in it. So since you were on board at the beginning, I think that Tyler offered to meet with us on the 22nd of March. I think.
Did he? I didn't see the
Well,
email.
let me
Sorry.
look, Mark, and that would be great if you could join. Because, yeah, that I would.
Late in the day, earlier in the morning is better for me, but I
Okay,
don't think I really have anything in my docket that's around
yeah. Okay, let me coordinate between the three of us and Tyler, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyler.
Not at a
Sorry.
quorum issue, are we, with the three of us?
Would that be okay, just gathering information, or should it just be 2 people going?
Yeah, no, if you don't have a quorum, so.
Oh, yeah, our
We don't
quorum is
agree.
4.
We are just gathering.
Oh, I keep
Yeah.
forgetting, our quorum is 4 now,
So
so,
we're good.
so we're okay, we're a little subcommittee.
I didn't
Yeah,
see
just
him
follow up
on
with
that.
an email or something when that gets a little bit more defined.
Yeah,
And I'd be happy
Yeah.
to join you guys to
Okay.
discuss.
great, I appreciate that, because I think that will be very helpful. And I definitely was not saying that we don't research those ideas that came up, that it
Mhm.
seemed like we were excited about. But I think for the ARPA thing, I feel like the ship is passed, and they're gonna proceed and may add it to the list. So it's like, okay, if you want to add it to the list, that's your prerogative, and I think that's fine.
What happens at that point if they do? Because don't we technically oversee volunteer screens and that?
Well,
in
let's
our-
hope, I don't know how
I
that
don't really
happens.
know
Yeah.
how that works.
I don't know how
I'm
that
just
works.
curious, like
Yeah.
how that plays out.
Yeah,
I
like
think the
would we
select
still,
board could do whatever they want.
like, would we still be in charge of like figuring
They would
out?
probably
what to
not
put
do
in?
that without the rec committee's consent, you know,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
can see it going, ARPA recommends it, select board goes, hey, what do you all think?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
to be
I
determined.
would say great, we have funding, but we need
Stay
to
tuned,
engage
yeah.
the community first.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, the question would be is, would they ask us to do the community engagement to get the input on these ideas?
Well,
Be
because
very nice, like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
just
good
the-
here,
ask.
get the community engagement on, not that they're bad ideas,
Right,
but like, here,
right.
get the community engagement on our ideas. That,
Well, I
There's a
do
lot
wonder
right
if that
now.
might happen. We'll see.
Because the
think-
ARPA committee is really just for
Temporary.
giving the select board
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah.
They're not really.
They're
meant
not
to be
gonna hang
long-term
out. They're
committee.
done.
Yeah.
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 And they've
So
already
it
done
would
the-
be on us.
They've done the public engagement though. That's the thing. That was the whole process of it. They've got that data for the other stuff, which once
Yeah.
again is not good
Right.
news for the newer stuff.
Yeah.
but, I
And they
mean,
did, but like, just because 10 people say they, want a
Right.
pavilion, doesn't
Yeah.
mean the general community wants a huge pavilion of volunteers,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
there is more public engagement that needs to be.
Yeah, because I have my list here and I will tell you, again, the highest vote for recreation was 39 people wanted a tennis court and 24 wanted
Mm.
recreation. When we go, this is the ARPA committee, so when we look at the actual pavilion, oh yeah, I think it's only one vote. Hang on.
yeah?
Yeah, I think the pavilion was one vote here.
Valid results here.
Yeah, no, I'd have to look at this closer, but again, the other high flyer was the dog park, 15, but again, these aren't huge numbers.
Right.
A lot of these have ones next to them.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Statistically valid in the least.
Right, well, that's the
So-
thing, so we can't just be like, yeah, one person wanted, let's put it in.
so we are at, so we got through, I mean, we kind of said that the capital plan budget is an opportunity.
Right.
If, I really like the idea of, let's see if we can get this playground and some of these other things improved. And then, yeah, by all means, if, we can get the public to weigh in and it makes sense to add this kind of stuff and it follows the regulations and we're not, I know there was concerned about the paved paths and not being the way to go for natural settings and things like that. Even with the playground, if we get the go ahead, the community wants to see a variety of kind of natural
There is some
play-
support for natural.
natural
Yeah,
place
elements.
scapes or elements, so, we'll have to make sure that that is one of the designs or two of the designs or something. So, so we have a lot of things to do if, even if the ARPA comes through with,
Right.
and if the ARPA doesn't come through, then again, we'll have more conversations about, okay, let's think about the capital plan, and what that would look like to fund the playground, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's nice to just have, opportunities to look at other ways of funding this, but I kind of
Absolutely.
hope that maybe they'll
Yeah.
go for it for the things we put on there. So it is late. It's 8:35. I did a terrible job at the agenda trying to get us through on time. I'm always like 5-10 minutes late, but I really appreciate everyone and their ideas and their thoughtfulness and their participation. I hope you can get to Volunteers Green if to take a look before the next meeting, but if not, send me your ideas around the website, and we'll collate that and what you think the main, one goal, two goals are, and we'll collate that next one and we'll finalize our list of activities for Green Up Day, and I'll work on the poster or whatever, the Front Porch Forum. So, does that sound like everything we said we were gonna do?
Sounds
And
good
you're
to me.
gonna check about the inspection
Yep.
person. Yep. Okay, so I make a motion to adjourn. I need a second.
Second.
Second, okay. Thank you. We can all say good night and enjoy the rest of the evening. Yeah, and it'll daylight savings time the next time we see each other.
So
So,
when we drive in next time, it'll be bright.
It'll be
When I was
bright.
driving in, the sun was just setting, so unfortunately
Yeah.
we lose that hour or,
Yes.
yeah, we go forward, so it'll be like
Be
7.
dark in
so-
the morning.
Right, it'll be dark in the morning, but it'll be bright in the evening.
Yeah.
yeah, I love those. So anyways, thank you all. I'll see you
Thank
next
you.
month.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.